Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to all. In particular, good morning to those who are viewing us electronically. This is certainly a different time, I should say. Well, it is a bit difficult coming behind all of these great speakers who've gone before me. I think everything I needed to say has been said already, but I will endeavor to do my best. You know, speaking on the topic of speaking, even before being elected and now being the youngest minister within the government, I have had the opportunity to speak and give presentations across the globe and to many different people, from presidents to prime ministers, CEOs, different persons. And yet, none of those opportunities was as, I guess, I don't want to say challenging, but as awkward as now having to speak with and give presentations to some of my former teachers and having them reply to me as boss and minister. These are people who I have tremendous respect for and admiration, and you know, it does take in some getting accustomed to in terms of that swap, in terms of that authority role. However, being in the house of the Lord, I must tell the truth and say on one or two occasions I did say, yes, man, take that. Ms. Warner, obviously you were in the former category and not the latter. I would like to ask you all to join me in giving yourselves an entire Ministry of Education a round of applause. This morning we are doing something that many of our counterparts across the region are unable to do. This morning we are resuming school here in St. Kitts and Nevis, despite the COVID-19 pandemic. And that is something that I think we should be proud of. It is something we've worked very hard to achieve, and it is something that I know we will have ultimate success in. When you think about Trinidad, who's saying next year, and Jamaica, who's saying later down this year, St. Kitts and Nevis is ready to push forward and push through. Just a few days short of 3 months ago, I was sworn in as the Minister of Education. I was warmly welcomed by my staff at the Ministry of Education and greeted with good wishes and even with fruit baskets and flowers. Having landed in a field that was new to me and having hit the ground running, you as educators would know that the learning curve would be very steep, and indeed it has been. However, being up to the challenge, and I would say somewhat a quick learner, I am getting a good handle on the Ministry of Education and how it functions, or so I've been told. I don't know if Mr. Hodge has been fooling me. Accompanied by the very Mr. Hodge, my permanent secretary, I set out about undertaking a series of visits and listening tours to the various divisions, departments, units within the Ministry of Education, the EPD, the EMIS, the ECDU, NTSP, this one I know is TVET, Spectrum, EMU, and the list goes on. I intentionally use all these acronyms, hopefully to confuse you, so that you can experience a little of how awfully confused I was and continue to be by the reference acronyms. Please don't test me on what they mean yet, I'm still getting to that. As my listening tour continues, I will be meeting shortly with the staff at school meals, the school farm, with the school bus drivers, education officers, with the teachers' union, and all schools, including our early childhood centers. If I do one a week, I should be able to complete this task by the time the next election comes around. As I made my visits, I must admit that I was somewhat unaware of the many excellent programs, initiatives, projects currently taking place within the Ministry of Education. The rewriting of the national curriculum, the computer lab project in the primary schools, and I must at this point say thank you to Ross University for coming on board. The massive financial support to educators completing their masters within UE in conjunction with the CFBC. The many training initiatives to build teacher capacity, such as the online UE certificate course in reading, the TVET enhancement project, refurbishment of TVET spaces in secondary schools. Madam Chair, please allow me to pause at this time and to offer my highest praise and commendations to my predecessor, the former Minister of Education, Youth, Sport and Culture, our Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean K. Richards, for the many achievements attained by the Ministry of Education during your term of office as Minister of Education. We congratulate you on being one of the most highly respected ministers of education since attainment of our independence some 37 years ago. Your presence here shows your continued support to the Ministry of Education. As we stand on the threshold of yet another school year, we do so fully conscious that the year that lies ahead will be like no other for the education of our children, for the education of children anywhere in the world. For us here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, as we consider our present realities in terms of the continued education of our precious resources, our children, I would like to share just a few words on bridging the gap in education and digital technology, the way forward for learning spaces across the world. The students of today and the students of the future will demand that learning support that is appropriate for their situation or their context. Nothing more, nothing less. And they will come to expect that the support and the momentum they need, the support as the momentum they need arise. Not sooner, not later. The Ministry of Education recognizes that this is an important time of transition and evolution of our education system. The way in which the evolution in education has been perceived is an emphasis on the acquisition of devices and a focus on content solutions. But the abrupt shift in our education delivery brought about by the pandemic, we must move towards integrated solutions that break down boundaries and solutions that accommodate this new norm of our educational structure. Now is the time, more than ever before, to maximize the opportunities that have arisen in terms of digital education and its key components that will make our new norm work. Digital education mandates that the Ministry of Education procures solutions that focus heavily on the connections between all education stakeholders, teachers to students, teachers to parents, education leaders to teachers and parents, students to students, teachers to teachers, and schools to community within a digital space. Understanding the drivers that will steer these connections are what makes the new reality. Over the past few months, the Ministry of Education not only stood at the portal of an unforeseen reality, it also gave us an opportunity to understand the behaviors, preferences, tendencies of all stakeholders who will form the connections to forge ahead with digital education. In order for it to function effectively, the Ministry of Education has identified two critical connections. Firstly, the integrated student learning life cycle that creates a continuum from pre-K to the last lesson the student ever learns, so that not only what the student learns is being tracked, but how they learned it. And secondly, the integration of technology solutions. The latter of these connections is the practical solutions that will solve all functional problems that exist across academia today, and not only the changes brought about by the pandemic. These are the solutions that will help teachers to keep their various responsibilities in sync digitally. Solutions that will encourage collaboration and teamwork amongst education leaders. Solutions that will highlight best practices of integrating technology into the learning spaces. These are the solutions that will actively involve the home and parents, learning with their children and understanding the importance of the digital space. These are also the solutions that allow learning to be extended beyond the time limitations of the school day or the class and the physical boundaries of school. These solutions are designed to improve learning outcomes. The Ministry of Education's agenda will manifest when all spectrum of this era of learning actively involves and embraces the digital space. An integral part of integrated technology solutions for education will see much of what we call blended learning online and offline. We at the Ministry of Education believe that the use of technology in a blended learning environment will make the classroom more social and embraces curiosity, diversity, and adds value to learning new knowledge, new skills, new values, and new attitudes. Now that we understand some of the behaviors, preferences, and tendencies of our education stakeholders, that will make the blending and learning environment successful. We have been working tirelessly to ensure that the leveraging of the best technology tools for our students to receive the highest quality of instruction possible now, and tools that will allow teachers to create learning spaces digitally that are adaptable and flexible now. So far, the Ministry of Education has done a good job with the procuring of a LMS, a learning management system. Microsoft Teams, where extensive amounts of training have been done to bring our teachers to a very comfortable stage with the technology. The rollout of the SMIS, or School Management Information System, to assist our teachers and school leaders manage their schools digitally, and also to assist with aggregate reporting in real time to help to guide our leaders with policies and decision making. While the integration of technology solutions is of paramount importance, it simply cannot work if our students do not have the digital access, which has been identified as a new basic need. In the new norm, we still believe that no child should be left behind. The Ministry of Education has also been working to put in place the proper infrastructure to accommodate the basic need of digital access, and today we can safely say that our students' needs from the internet connection to device acquisition have been met. Our students are the most important stakeholders in the education hierarchy. Hence, it is imperative for us to always have their best interests at heart. Additionally, to continue ensuring that our students are adequately receiving the highest level of education, the academic year 2020 to 2021 will see more transitions in the area of flipped classroom approaches to accommodate not only the shift system that will be implemented by the teaching, but teaching as a whole. Curriculum reforms to specific content areas, physically and also in a digital format that is more student-centered via the piloting of the LearnBook program. An e-book platform that houses a large amount of content from synced and regular textbooks, but in a digital format that makes learning fun and attractive. Students can have access now from the moment their needs arise. Also, for the academic year 2020-2021, we will see more of the Ministry of Education building on the capacity of the skill set acquired through technology to move forward with education. Professional development that is considered transformative in nature as part of the great ecostructure of our education system capacity will be built upon. The Ministry of Education will continue to encourage and motivate our teachers and education leaders to equip themselves with the abundance of knowledge and qualification to ensure that our students receive the best. We will also work to foster continuous promotions to higher leadership positions and make the education sector more attractive. It is at this juncture that I extend my warmest congratulations to all of the teachers of the early childhood, primary, and secondary sectors who have successfully completed their master's degree in education with UWI School of Education, Cayfield Campus, in conjunction with our very own CFBC. In addition, in terms of building capacity of teachers, I offer heartiest congratulations to the 25 teachers in St. Kitts and Nevis who are now designated as reading intervention teachers. These individuals have successfully completed a certificate course in reading with the University of the West Indies. These teachers have graciously consented to undertake this reading initiative in our primary schools. I am advised that some 4 deputy principals, on their own volition, opted to relinquish those deputy principal positions to become reading intervention teachers. This commitment is worthy of high commendation. It is a demonstration of commitment to put students first. Please join me again in applauding these former deputy principals. The Ministry of Education extends its deepest appreciation to these educators and wish them well in their new roles. Our response to the technology and infrastructure requirements to move us into this new norm of learning has shown our strength as an education unit, as communities, and as a nation on a whole. Though much advancements have been made over the years, the last few months have proven our dedication to our students. We had not foreseen such quick implementation of our technology strategies. As you heard, some did in 10 weeks what they had promised to do in 10 years. We had not envisaged our schools closing so abruptly when we started the 2019-2020 academic year. What we were not surprised about, however, was the fact that our teachers, our students, and our education leaders were ready to meet and overcome these unprecedented challenges. You have quickly adapted to distance learning. You have expanded your skill sets. You have mastered new technology platforms. You have found innovative ways to stay connected, and you have done it all with unrelenting commitment to our shared goal of putting students first. What impresses us more is that you have made this transition while facing new demands in your personal lives. We at the Ministry of Education thank you for your hard work and dedication to our students and your willingness to adopt and push forward the agenda of the ministry. We have a lot to be proud of, and we know that 2020-2021 academic year will be challenging. But we believe that your true strength has already been tested. I urge you to remember that education is evolving due to the impact of technology. We cannot teach our students in the same manner in which we were taught. Kindly allow me, as Minister of Education, to reassure you of my support and to extend my best wishes to all in anticipation of what is to come. At this point, I would like to ask you all to stand with me in a moment's silence. This afternoon, we let to rest one of our very own, Ms. Tara Flanders, and so I ask that you join me in a moment's silence in respect of Ms. Flanders. Thank you.